Dialogue can make or break a movie, especially with love stories. That's what Attack of the Clones basically is, a love story. Yes, it's also about how Palpatine orchestrated the Clone Wars, which was a needed step in both his acquiring more political power and orchestrating the fall of the Jedi. But the success or failure of this film hinged on selling the love story between Anakin and Padme, which sets up the fall of Anakin in Episode 3. Just to clarify before going any further, this post is not about ripping on actors. If Anakin's dialogue was the only part that came across as weak, that would be one thing. But throughout all three prequels, even Obi-Wan's and Padme's scenes seemed off at times, and Ewan McGregor and Natalie Portman are really good actors, which suggests that, at times, they were working with words and scenes that were poorly crafted. This post is about crafting meaningful dialogue, and distinguishing between showing and telling. Dialogue needs a purpose. It needs to develop characters or move the plot along by giving information such as foreshadowing events. And it needs to do it realistically, in a way that makes us feel for the characters, for their desires, their emotions, and struggles. But in this scene, what do we learn about Anakin, Padme, or the story's plot? I can't find anything. Anakin hates sand, but why is that important? Why do we need to know this? His hating sand because it's coarse doesn't tie into anything relevant to the story. Instead of hating sand because it's coarse and gets everywhere, Anakin could hate sand because it reminds him of Tatooine, of the choice he made to leave his mother. It could make him wonder if he did the right thing in abandoning her to a life of slavery. Anakin doesn't even need to say these specific words, and it might be better if he doesn't. We already know Anakin loves Padme, so his thoughts about his mother should be what the audience takes away from this interaction. If you don't think Hayden Christensen was capable of delivering a scene that has the needed emotion, I offer this moment from Revenge of the Sith. This scene does an amazing job of showing Anakin's internal struggle, and it might be the most emotionally powerful moment in the prequel trilogy. Without Anakin saying a word, the audience clearly understands that he can't sit back and chance Palpatine's destruction, not when it could mean Padme's death. Moreover, it's clear that Anakin has already made up his mind, and that the only thing left to do is accept where this choice will take him. This scene works because previous events have built up to it. No words are needed. Now, back to Attack of the Clones. Sand reminding Anakin of his mother would be more effective because it taps into events we've already witnessed, and it would let us know that Anakin constantly thinks about his mother, and that he perhaps second-guesses his choice to join the Jedi Order. This puts a psychological wedge in between him and the Jedi, and it sets up the extreme remorse and regret he feels when his mother dies. Lastly, Sand reminding Anakin of his mother makes this waking dream follow more naturally in the story, since the audience would have understood that he'd been thinking of his mother, which likely caused him to have visions of her fate. When she dies in his arms, we would have been more emotionally invested because we would better understand what Anakin had struggled with over the previous decade. No movie uses dialogue that builds to a tragedy better than Saving Private Ryan. Medic Wade shares an extremely personal story with his fellow soldiers about how he used to pretend to be asleep when his mother returned home late from work. He never once said that he missed his mother, or regretted depriving her of talking with him, or finding out about his day. He only says this.
Oh, I did that.
By saying this, combined with how he told the story, the audience understands that he regrets pretending to be asleep, which makes his death scene all the more gut-wrenching. When he murmurs that he wants to go home, we know he's full of regret, not only because he's about to die, but because he fears that his mother might never know how much she meant to him and how sorry he is.
Mama, I want to go home. I want to go home. Mama.
This is an expertly crafted character arc, because all this was set up by showing, not telling. Wade never specifically said that he was sorry. He never said the words the writers wanted the audience to understand. We inferred that he felt extreme remorse based upon what he did say and how he said it. Along with the action, dialogue needs to show us a truth about the character. If characters only tell us what they are feeling, the audience will not engage as much as they otherwise would have. What the audience was shown when Anakin and Padme were on Naboo did not sell the notion that both were struggling with their emotions. Anakin maybe, but in a juvenile kind of way, and Padme not really at all. So when Anakin spills his feelings to Padme, and she responds as if she's struggling just the same, they're only telling us that they're struggling. They're telling us what they want us to understand. But the audience can't fully engage with what's happening, because the previous dialogue and action hasn't sold us that they're actually feeling these emotions. Anakin rationalizing that Jedi are encouraged to love comes across well enough, and gives good information. He never once says that he loves her, but the audience understands that he's smitten and trying to explain that there's no good reason why they can't be together. But each of their successive scenes are jarring. Padme scolding Anakin distances them, which makes it all the more bizarre that she would allow him to lean in for a kiss. And this uncomfortable kiss makes it strange that they would then appear so friendly in this field, talking as if nothing awkward had happened, even rolling around as if they were already lovers. Their character traits, specifically Padme's, fluctuates too much. She seems hollow, as if only a prop that is unable to control her emotions. This is not Padme's character. She is a strong, disciplined woman who needs to be put in repeated will-testing situations to break her down so she finally gives in to her feelings. But that never happens. Look at these two scenes back to back. In the first, Anakin and Padme are having a lighthearted conversation. They're laughing and having a good time. Then, jump cut to a dark room with both characters tense and sitting on a couch. No transition in the conversation. No action to transition their moods. Just an info dump of them telling that they're struggling with their love for each other. This is telling at its worst, because it's telling that is unsupported by scenes that sell the struggle. Here's another example of how telling both kills tension and distances the audience from Anakin and Padme's relationship. After Anakin slaughters the Sand People, he rants to Padme about hating them and how he even murdered the women and children. Despite the visible cues given off by Hayden Christensen, this is still a lot of telling. He's partially showing his hatred and anger, but he's literally telling her what he feels and what he did. This is problematic. Not only are we being told what happened, but so is Padme. By doing this, the writers have essentially written themselves into a corner. 1. Anakin telling Padme the truth and having her accept it kills tension between them. And 2. Padme's visible acceptance of Anakin's actions, even if she doesn't like them internally, gives the impression that she condones the behavior, which doesn't cohere with her character. In fact, Padme's acceptance of such a horrible act makes her somewhat complicit and hollow, which turns people away from them both, instead of drawing the audience in. Instead of Anakin admitting to killing them all, including the women and children, he should have lied, or not wanted to talk about it, or given a vague response. A quick flashback scene could have shown Anakin standing among a heap of bodies, or something else to imply that he'd killed everyone, just like they did a good job in Episode 3 of implying that he killed the kids. The audience would have been shown what he'd done, and also that he lied, which would have only built more tension, as we'd be witnessing his attempt to balance his feelings for Padme and his lust for vengeance and power. Given all of these poorly crafted interactions between Anakin and Padme, this confession of love falls flat. Using words like deeply only highlights how poor of a job many of the earlier scenes did of showing us this truth. The more Lucas frames the kiss in the light at the end of the tunnel, or makes them surprisingly clean and well-groomed, the more the audience will likely cringe and not believe it. Or they'll believe it, but not be as emotionally invested as they otherwise could have been. I hope I've adequately shown why the key storyline in Attack of the Clones was so underwhelming, while at the same time demonstrating the difference between showing and telling. If you found this video entertaining or helpful to your own writing project, tune in next time when I finish the prequel trilogy by looking at the importance of character arc. Thank you for watching, everyone. See you next time.